I still remember the sound of her voice, sharp, cold, slicing the air like a knife made of disappointment. "You eat here, but you don't help at all." Her words hit harder than she knew. They didn't come from frustration. They came from indifference, maybe even resentment. At the table, my fork stopped midair. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't remind them that arthritis made simple chores feel like lifting bricks. I didn't tell them I cooked, folded laundry, and fixed what I could. My son sat beside her, my only child, lowering his eyes as if silence could protect him. He didn't say a single word in my defense. Not even a quiet, "That's not true, Mom." His stillness was louder than her insult. Across from me, my grandson watched us with wide, uncertain eyes. Children always know when something breaks in a room, even if they don't understand how. So I chewed my food, swallowed, and set my fork down. No tears, no outburst, just quiet dignity. I began clearing the table, letting the clinking of dishes answer for me. That night I lay awake in the cramped, converted storage room they called a my space. The ceiling fan wobbled and clicked, keeping my eyes open as their laughter carried down the hallway. They were enjoying their evening. I was trying not to disappear. I thought about the years I spent holding this family together. My late husband's illness, the double shifts, the nights spent sewing buttons, and the mornings spent packing lunches we could barely afford. I remembered the birthday parties, the graduations, the sacrifices I made with a smile because that's what mothers do. And now, I was just an extra mouth. A burden. A woman to be tolerated, not cherished. But something changed that night, something small but powerful. The quiet ache inside my chest wasn't just sadness. It was awakening. A whisper that said, "You don't deserve this." I didn't leave the next morning. I stayed 2 more days, cooked, tidied, stayed invisible. Then they left for a weekend trip without inviting me. That was my answer. I placed the house key on the kitchen table, packed 1 suitcase, and walked out with silent steps but a roaring heart. Link symbol rehook. But the moment I stepped into a care home, thinking I had nowhere else to go, I discovered a truth that would change everything, including who really owned the house they lived in. The care home I moved into wasn't luxurious. It smelled faintly of bleach and boiled vegetables, and the walls echoed with forgotten stories. But at least the silence there didn't hurt. I tried to settle in. I helped with laundry, folded napkins in the dining hall, and read letters for residents whose eyes could no longer keep up. That's how I met Helen, a sharp-tongued widow with a heart full of humor and a past full of hurt. She, too, had been pushed aside by her family. One evening, after she shared her story, something inside me unlatched. Maybe it was the cold bed. Maybe it was the memory of my husband's tired smile before he passed. Or maybe it was Helen's trembling hands when she said, "They erased me." That sentence followed me into the night. The next morning, I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. James, my late husband's closest friend and our old lawyer. "Do you remember the deed?" I asked. His pores said everything. "Come see me." 3 days later, I walked into his office. Same aging bookshelves, same scent of dust and old coffee. James looked older, but his kindness hadn't changed. Without questions, he unlocked a drawer and slid a thick folder toward me. "You should have received a copy years ago," he said. I opened it. And there it was. My name. My husband's signature. My home, fully transferred to me in 1994. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. "He didn't want you to ever be left with nothing," James explained softly. He was thinking of you even at the end. My hands trembled, not from age but from realization. All these years, I believed I was a guest in my son's home. But the truth was painful and liberating at once. It was never their house. It was mine. All along. And the people who mocked me, belittled me, and counted my meals had been living under my roof, because of my husband's love and my labor. A calm I couldn't name settled inside me. Not revenge. Not anger. Just clarity. I want to sell it, I said. James nodded. No judgment. Just understanding. For the first time in decades, I felt like I was taking back a part of myself I'd lost. Link symbol rehook. But selling the house wasn't the end, it was the first step towards something none of them ever expected, and something even I didn't see coming. The sale took weeks, papers, signatures, inspections, but with every step, something inside me straightened. I stood taller. Breathed easier. While the house was being prepared for sale, I went back to my quiet room in the care home. I listened to the gentle hum of life around me, residents laughing, nurses chatting, Helen humming snippets of old hymns. It was here, in this little room that smelled of lavender and memories, that I opened an old leather notebook my husband once gave me. Inside were decades of handwritten entries, records I hadn't looked at in years. Not of debts. Not of grudges. But of sacrifices. Payments I had made quietly so my son and his family could live comfortably. Tuition. Car repairs. Down payments. Medical bills. Groceries during tough years. Thousands upon thousands of dollars, given freely, without return, without keeping score. But now, the pages felt like a map of everything I had poured into a family that eventually labeled me a burden. When the house finally sold, I didn't feel triumph. I felt peace, the kind that comes when a long, painful chapter finally closes. James mailed the legal notices. My son and Samantha received the official letters. Their silence lasted only a few hours. Then came the calls. The first few I ignored. When I finally replied, it was simple. The home was legally mine. I simply reclaimed what I paid for. Later that week, I stood by the care home window as autumn leaves fell across the courtyard. For the first time in years, my heart felt quiet. But something else was growing inside me, a seedling of purpose. I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Link symbol rehook. Because with the money from the house, I wasn't planning to punish them. I was planning to build something they never imagined, a place where forgotten people finally felt seen. With the money safely transferred, I didn't buy luxuries. I didn't take vacations. I didn't spend it on myself the way others expected. Instead, I bought a small, worn-down building on the edge of town, old paint, sagging steps, a garden that hadn't felt love in years. But I saw potential. I saw life. I named it Haven House, not a shelter. Not a care home. A place where no one had to prove their worth to stay. I hired a handyman whose mother had once lived in a home like mine. He worked extra hours for free when he learned the purpose. Together we patched walls, repainted rooms, and planted herbs in mismatched pots. I invited Helen first. She cried into her hands, whispering, "And no one has ever chosen me before." One by one, others joined. Miss Beatrice, the retired teacher. Marion, the florist who still smelled faintly of roses. Roland, a widower with a heart too big and hands that cooked miracles. We laughed, cooked, tended gardens, played music, and stitched together broken pieces of our pasts. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Roland said, "We're alive today because someone called you useless." We all laughed, the deep, healing kind. Haven House grew into more than a building. It became a sanctuary for souls who'd been pushed aside by the very people they once raised. I had spent my life feeding others. Now I was feeding something else: dignity, community, belonging. Link symbol rehook. But just when our little world was finally whole, someone from my past walked through the gate, and everything shifted again. It had been almost a year since I left them. Then one quiet afternoon, as sunshine spilled across the porch, I saw him. My son. Older. Hollow. Carrying regret like a shadow. "Mom," he whispered, "I don't deserve to be here." He sat across from me, hands shaking. "We lost the house. Samantha left. I don't know what to do anymore." For a moment, I saw not the man who stayed silent at the dinner table, but the boy I once carried. The boy I once protected. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking. "I should have defended you. I should have seen you." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. Instead, I handed him a photograph, the first residents of Haven House laughing on an unfinished porch. "You built this?" he asked. "With the money from the house," I said. "I built something that mattered." "Why didn't you keep it for yourself?" "Because I already had what I needed," I said softly. "Peace." Then I told him what he needed to hear, gently but firmly. I never wanted repayment. I wanted respect. He wept. Real tears this time. The kind that come from truth, not guilt. Before he left, he asked, "Can I fix this? Can I help?" I shook my head. Haven House doesn't need your guilt. It needs your growth. Live better. Love better. That's how you honor me. I handed him one last gift, a blank deed. A clean page, I said. "Go build something worthy." He held it like it was the first chance he had ever received. As he walked away, the sun dipped low, lighting the garden in gold. Behind me, Helen laughed. Someone hummed an old hymn. The wind rustled through the herbs we planted together. And for the first time in my life, I understood something clearly. I was never a burden. I was the foundation. And now, I was finally home. Link symbol final rehook for next video. If you want more stories of strength, resilience, and women who refuse to disappear, stay with Grandma True Stories. Every week, we remember the voices they tried to silence. You eat here, but you don't help. You just sit. What good are you now? Samantha's voice cut through the quiet of the dinner table, sharp enough to bruise. My fork froze mid-air. My son, Jason, didn't look up. Not once. He didn't offend me, didn't correct her, didn't even shift in his chair. He just kept chewing, pretending he didn't hear what was said about his own mother. Across from me, my grandson looked up with wide eyes, that innocent confusion children get when they witness adults acting cruel. He didn't understand the words, but he felt the temperature of the room drop. I swallowed the bite I had already taken. No tears, no argument, no shaking voice, just silence. The kind of silence a woman learns after years of putting everyone else first. I didn't bother explaining how my arthritis stiffened my fingers every morning, or how the pain in my spine made bending a battle. I didn't remind them how many dinners I had cooked for this family, or how many nights I spent mending clothes watching over sick children, and stretching pennies into meals. Instead, I quietly gathered the plates. Later, in the cramped room they called her guest room, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan clicking on every rotation. I heard them laughing from the living room, Samantha's shrill laugh, Jason's lower one. They sounded like people living a life that didn't include me. I wasn't angry. I was erased. I thought of years long gone, caring for my dying husband, working double shifts, sewing school uniforms, scraping together money for Jason's needs. I thought of being strong when life demanded it, gentle when no one noticed it, present when no one thanked me for it. And now, after all of it, I was just someone who eats. I didn't leave the next morning. Leaving in anger would have given them too much satisfaction. Instead, I made breakfast, folded laundry, repaired a button on my grandson's jacket. I existed quietly, with dignity they didn't deserve to witness. 2 days later, they packed for a weekend getaway. I wasn't invited. When their car rolled out of the driveway, I packed one suitcase, set the house key on the table, and walked out the door without a single word. I took the bus to the first care home I could afford, not fancy, but clean. The receptionist didn't ask why I was alone. She must have seen many women like me. And that night, sitting on that narrow bed with a window too small to see through, I finally whispered the question I had been afraid to ask myself. Had I really become a burden? But then a softer voice rose within me, a voice that had been quiet for too many years. What if they're wrong?